Welcome to Zeph's house. Come in out of the dark and pull the door shut behind you. Tonight's tale is called Maintenance. Randy Klein's family had kept the same patch of ground from spreading for 5 generations. They never wrote down why, they just did the work, quietly, every night, the way you tend anything you love or fear enough. I drove out to his house to learn how to save Wayne Coulter. I left understanding that the last time the work stopped, an innocent man went to prison for it. Klein's place was everything Coulter's wasn't. 4 miles west of Bray, a white 2-story farmhouse back off the road behind mature oaks. Not new, not renovated, just taken care of. The way things get taken care of by a man who believes maintenance is a moral act. The porch didn't sag. The garden was putting up tomatoes, and behind the mowed yard, the tree line started where his land ran toward the fields, and if you followed it south and east, you'd cross the back of Haskins's parcel and then the seam. His family hadn't lived near the wrong ground. They'd built their house on the approach to it. He opened the door before I knocked. Not like he'd been watching, like he'd heard the engine and done the math the way you do out here, where a truck in the drive means trouble or a neighbor, and Klein didn't seem like a man with neighbors who dropped by. He poured coffee without asking into a mug that said Adia Environmental Services in faded blue. A table built for 4, 1 chair worn, 3 not. "I found Coulter," I said. And something behind his face shifted, not surprise, relief. The particular relief of a man who's carried a secret too long and just heard someone else say part of it out loud. "I know," he said. "I've known about Wayne a while. Since before I started watching the ditch, it turned out, and when I asked why he hadn't called the sheriff, he just looked at me. And tell her a man's been driving dirt in his sleep because the ground told him to. You've seen the lab report. You know how that ends." He was right. I'd had that exact conversation. So he told me what he'd been doing instead. And he didn't tell it like a myth. He told it like a drainage problem he'd inherited with the property. Klein's on this land since the 1880s. He'd left for 15 years. Madison, a degree in environmental geoscience, a master's in remediation, 15 years in Maine, cleaning up Superfund sites, chemical plants, old tanneries, places where people dumped things into the ground for decades and acted surprised when the ground gave it back. He'd gotten good at reading a site, walking a property and telling you where the contamination was headed before the monitoring wells confirmed it. He set the mug down. "Turns out that wasn't a coincidence. My family didn't settle here because the land was good. The land isn't good. We settled here because someone has to." Then he counted it off on his fingers like items on a work order. 1. The ground. Old. Wrong. It wants to spread, and it uses whatever it can, animals, water, people, to move past the boundary. The boundary isn't a line, it's a pressure. My family calls it the margin. 2. The thing in the ditch, the guardian. It patrols the margin at night and kills what crosses and removes the bodies, and sometimes leaves them where they'll be found. His brother thought that was deliberate, a warning. I thought about the doe on the yellow line, the coyote placed in the ditch. 3. The old one, the possum, the watcher. His brother had called it the cartographer. It maps the margin, walks the edge every night, knows where the boundary is strong and where it's thin. My great-grandfather's journals mention it. 1892, a possum that walks the bad ground and doesn't die. He looked at me. It understands the margin better than the guardian does, better than me. And it came to you. That has never happened. Not in any journal. Not in 130 years. My brother died 2 years ago, he said, flat, the way you say a thing you've said too many times. Hunting accident. And the gap in his voice was loud, a comma where the period should have been, a room he wasn't going to open. When he died, nobody walked the boundary for 7 months. And in 7 months, the ground pushed harder than it had in a generation. Animals started crossing. The soil started turning up where it shouldn't. And Wayne Coulter went from a man who hauled dirt for cash to a man the ground won't let stop. So Klein came home, quit the job, and took up what his brother and his father and his grandfather had done. I can cap the seam, he said. I can patrol the margin. I can kill what crosses. But Wayne isn't crossing. He's being driven. The ground got into him during the gap. He searched for the word, and I gave it to him, like a truck. He almost laughed. Like a truck. And I can't fix that the way I fix a road. I can't put fabric over a person. I can't cap a human being. So what releases him? He looked out the window toward the tree line. The ground has to let go. And the only thing I've ever seen stand on the margin without being infected or killed is the old one. It carries something. Immunity, resistance. I don't have the word. If anything in this system knows how to break the hold, it's that. He turned back. But I can't talk to a possum, Dale. I patrol, I kill, I cap. That's all my family has ever been able to do. And the old one has never, in 5 generations, let one of us near it. A pause. It let you. I didn't ask for this, I said. And for the first time his face wasn't calm or careful. It was sympathy. Neither did I, he said. Neither did my brother. Neither did my father. He stood. The margin doesn't care what you asked for. It cares what you do. I gave Caldwell most of it the next morning. The family, the generations, the 7-month gap, the 3 parts. I left out what I believed Klein did at night. That wasn't my truth to share. She took it with her arms crossed, doing the sheriff thing where she stays neutral so she can receive it, right up until I said the sentence that put her on a trap door. His brother died 2 years ago. Hunting accident. That's when the maintenance stopped. She went very still. Not the stillness of thinking, the stillness of a body remembering something it had spent 2 years trying not to. Kevin, she said. I blinked. Kevin Klein. She said the full name like she was reading it off a file she'd never managed to close. Found in the woods on the back parcel, west of Haskins. Her voice went flat and hard. I worked that case, Dale. I closed it. I arrested a man for it. I testified at his sentencing. She'd never doubted the surname. She'd doubted the case for 2 years and never had a reason she could write down. Because the file had been clean. A man named Ellis Vane found beside Kevin Klein's body, holding a rifle that wasn't his prints on it, residue on his hands, the wound consistent with the weapon. Vane hadn't run. He hadn't argued. He'd sat in the clearing with dirt on his boots and tears on his face and said over and over, I don't remember. I don't remember. Caldwell had called it shock, closed it, moved on. But the thing that had bothered her, the thing that wasn't evidence so she never wrote it down, was Ellis Vane's hands. His fingernails had been packed with dark soil, ground deep into the cuticles, the kind of grime you get working wet earth with your bare hands for hours. And at booking, she'd asked him how long he'd been out in the woods, and he'd looked at his own hands, confused, and said, "I don't know, I scrubbed them this morning." She closed the folder and drove 2 hours north to the state correctional facility at Stanley, and her credentials got her a same-day visit to a case long since closed. Ellis Vane was 46, 2 years into a 20-year sentence on a plea she'd helped broker. His hair had gone gray inside. He recognized her, and his face did something closer to apology than anything else. "How are you sleeping?" she asked him. He blinked. "Better, since I got here." He used to wake up tired all the time, he said, like he'd worked all night and couldn't remember it. "Now I just sleep. They turn the lights on at 6. I work in the laundry." He looked down at his hands on the table. "And my hands come clean now," he said quietly. "I didn't know they could." She'd practiced what she'd say in the car. None of it survived his first 3 sentences. He walked her through that morning the way he'd walked her through it 2 years before. Woke with his boots already on, which was strange because he didn't sleep in his boots. Dirt on the kitchen floor. Tired, like he'd run a long way. Sat in his recliner with coffee. And the next thing he knew, he was standing in the woods with a rifle he'd never owned and a man at his feet. The same answers. The only thing different was that this time she believed them. At the door, she turned back. "Mr. Vane, I'm going to look into your case again. I can't promise you anything." He didn't look hopeful. He looked like a man who'd stopped expecting things to move in any particular direction. "Sheriff," he said, "can I ask you one thing? Is it happening again? To someone else?" Her jaw worked. "Yes, it is." Ellis Vane closed his eyes, and when he opened them, there were tears that hadn't been there a moment before. "Save them," he said. "Whatever it takes, save them." She sat in her squad in the prison lot for 20 minutes before she could drive. "I wish I could tell you I was being careful while all that happened. I wasn't. I'd taken to driving with the mason jar on my seat. I don't know why. Maybe it was the only proof I had that any of this was real. I hit a pothole I didn't see. A truck bounced, the jar slid off, hit the floor hump and shattered. Not cracked, shattered. The dark soil spilling across the mat in a wet heap. I pulled over and cursed myself and leaned across with a shop towel to pick up the pieces. The third shard caught me. A curved piece of glass, slick with wet soil, slipped in my grip and drew a clean line across the pad of my right thumb. Not deep, the kind of cut you look at and think, that'll sting in the shower. But my hand was already black with the soil from picking up the glass. And the cut was open, and the dirt was in it before I thought to pull my hand back. My blood in the wrong ground, mixing inside a wound I'd made by being careless. I drove to a gas station and washed my hands a long time. The cut stopped bleeding in a minute. I put a Band-Aid on it from the kit in my glove box, and I told myself the lie a man tells himself when the truth is standing right there. That it was nothing, that a cut and a smear weren't the same as what had swallowed Coulter whole. I told myself that through dinner with my wife, where I didn't mention the jar. I told myself that lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling fine, feeling completely fine. I woke up tired. My arms were heavy, my legs taller than they'd been walking. My back ached the specific way it aches when you've been lifting. I sat up, and my feet hit the floor, and I looked down. There was dirt on the sheet. Just a smudge, the kind you'd leave climbing into bed with unwashed hands. I looked at my hands. The Band-Aid was gone. My thumb had a scab where the cut had been, and the whole hand up to the wrist was smeared with dried, dark soil. I sat on the edge of my own bed, and the room went very still. Downstairs, I could hear my wife at the coffee maker, the radio low. I tried to remember coming to bed. I remembered brushing my teeth. I remembered the ceiling. I did not remember getting up. My phone was on the nightstand, 4 missed calls, all from Caldwell. The first at 10:47 the night before, the last at 2:18 this morning. I hadn't heard a single one, because at 2:18 this morning I'd been somewhere in a truck I didn't remember driving, doing work I didn't remember doing, with my boots laced tight and tied just right by the closet door, caked in mud. "Dale," my wife called up the stairs. "Eggs?" "Yeah," I called back. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. I'd spent weeks trying to save Wayne Coulter from the thing that was eating him from the inside. And in the stupidest, smallest way a man can manage it, a slipped piece of glass, a moment of carelessness on the shoulder of a county road, I had become him. The infection was in me. And if Coulter was any kind of clock, I had maybe one more night before I stopped being the one steering. Klein couldn't help me. He'd said so himself. He couldn't cap a human being. But the old one had come to me. Twice. It had chosen me for reasons nobody in 130 years could explain. And if anything alive knew how to break the ground's hold on a man. That's all for tonight. If this one stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe. There is a new strange tale every week. Sleep well, if you can.